It's David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be talking about the government, your RPG world. Government is something very important to consider. It can kind of set the tone for the whole campaign. It can have a lot to do with your tech level as well, but not always. So what is the government? For our purposes, the government is who is in control, who issues orders, edicts, makes the law, who puts people in jail and sends the army off to fight. The power, who has the power, political power. So in Bronze Age, Iron Age, Middle Age kind of campaign, a feudal game, usually this power is going to rest with the military. It will be the warlords, the people who can enforce their own will, seize control. They are the government. You disagree with them, they kill you. And this is the most basic kind of form of complex government. Hunter-gatherer tribes, very egalitarian. There's not really much government going on there. There might be one guy everybody respects, they look up to. Maybe he's a grandfather. But the amount of power he has over others is very low compared to this feudal structure, this warlord. I have armor, you can't hurt me. You don't have armor, I can kill you anytime I want. You need to do what I say. If you don't, I'll kill you. You'll be an example to all the other plebes about exactly who's in charge, and that's me. And I'm going to set myself up with my picked men, my huskarls, my lieutenants, my bodyguards, and they will control you based on my edicts. They're loyal to me, and that's why I picked them. They are my knights, but I am the king. So that's the most basic. And as you start to move, forward in history, we get more complex structures. We get republics where the people hold the power, but they put that power off into elected representatives, whether that's a Soviet system or a Senate, whether it's corporate voting rights. I hold stock in the company. The company is the government. This is a mega corporation. But my stock option gives me this power to vote on important issues. But we might also have the CEO who's in charge of day-to-day things, and I can elect him, however, with my vote, hopefully, if it all goes my way. How is the government organized in these more complex forms? Is there a parliament, a House of Lords, a Senate? Is there a king, the president? In the king, like I live in Canada, so we have a queen. She's a figurehead. She doesn't do much, but she's there. She's part of the government. She has some degree of power, even if it's just as a figurehead. Then we also have, for me, the prime minister, but that could be the president in another area. Now, he holds the most individual power, but he's got checks and balances against him. It's not a dictatorship. It's not a tyranny. He's got, the parliament and the Senate that hold him in check. In the states, they have Congress. In historical circumstances, it might be the House of Lords, or it might be, all the barons coming together and pooling their authority to make demands onto the king. Right? So, government is something very important in your fantasy culture, or your science fiction culture, your space opera culture, your modern day culture. So spend some time thinking about, how do I want it organized? Who are the power players? How fast acting will it be? Is it decentralized, so no one man holds too much power, which tend to be very slow to make decisions, huge bureaucracy, red tape, difficult to navigate? Or do I want it all controlled by one man, the king, the tyrant, the dictator, very fast acting? And if that guy is goodly and intelligent, that can be great. And if he's an idiot or just mean-spirited or evil, that could be a horrible place to live. And that's part of the reason republics came about, is to minimize the impact of any individual element being bad, being evil. being stupid, making poor decisions, trying to put himself above others. So, where does your fantasy government fall on this scale? Um, and of course, how do you want that to interact with the others? Many settings don't just have one culture, they've got two, three, four, five. So if you're running something like, Tolkien, maybe your dwarfs are theocratic. They follow their religion. Their high priest is their top dog in the government. The elves might be very focused on their king, the noble blood, the lineage. He was born to be our king. Whereas the dwarfs would say, oh no, he's this guy though is the most educated, so he must be our pope, the dwarf pope. And then humans could have a mix. You could have a republic, Greco-Roman style in one area, and you could have a kingdom in another area, which is basically warlords who call themselves king. And how do these guys all interact? How do they feel about one another? The elves might say, well, I mean, you've got a king, but he just installed himself as king by killing the last king. Where's the history of the lineage? The blood coming down from the first elf in the world. Our king traces his lineage to the very first elf in the world. Your king is just some dude with plate armor. And how does that play out? So having this detail in the government can really dictate, the pace of the game, the style of game, and the storylines. You can spin storylines off of this. How do you cut through the red tape? How do you get rid of the evil king? So I just wanted to make this video to ramble at you so you'll consider, how does the government work? How is it structured in your game, in your campaign? What repercussions does that have? And leave any of your thoughts on any of those topics in the comments below. I love to hear them. And until I see you again, good day and good gaming.